I see people nodding, but some are looking at me like deer in the headlights.
What notebooks? From the first night, yes.
No, for tonight.
Yes.
Okay, you got your,
Oh, you mean
okay,
our
yes.
pamphlet for
Yes, your
not our
notebook.
notebooks, okay.
That's for your notebook, yes. Okay, good, good. The materials for this evening are all online at the cherokee.org/CCO. You'll be able to download all of the slides for tonight and another set of workbooks if you need them. Okay. Yeah, and this, although we're going out live right now, so wave to the people at home.
Where's the camera?
It's right behind you.
Oh, good, they can just see the back.
Right, right.
What about that camera over there?
There's one there, and there's one way over there. But normally if I'm standing here, they're using that one. So anyway, you'll be able to look at this at your leisure. If you want to watch me again, who knows why you'd want to do that, but it will be available to you, and additional materials. If there's something especially that you want to make sure you drive home with your boards, this would be a good tool. The video and the workbooks would be a good tool to use to do that. So think about that as we're going through things tonight. Okay, let's roll through here. This is the third of our modules, our training modules. So we're now down here at finance and fundraising. But again, we're still in this column here, which is the foundation. So this is going to be, again, very basic information. We're going to go through things. Let's get there. Like identifying the duties of the treasurer. How do you become be an official organization? If you're watching this from out of state, that may change depending on where you're at, but we'll talk about Oklahoma because that's where y'all are and most of our organizations are here. What else are we going to talk about? Prudent practices. How do you handle, what are good ideas for handling money? Most organizations beginning don't have a whole lot of money, so we need to make sure we protect what we do have, right? We'll talk about opening bank accounts for a nonprofit. There's a few things there that are a little different than opening your own. We'll go through those. And then reports, treasurer's reports, how to do them, when to do them, who to give them to, those kinds of things. So that's where we're headed tonight. I hope that's where you all wanted to go. Because we're going to run that direction. Okay. Okay, well, let's start with the duties of a treasurer. Basically, you're looking at the person who is responsible for the financial resources of your organization. These are the people who, basically they need to follow customary financial procedures, a little simple accounting, nothing real exciting, but they have to keep good records. What, and y'all, I want to ask this question, and I expect some answers. But what do you think is the most important attribute for a treasurer?
Keeping records straight.
Someone who keeps records straight? Well, that's okay. What's the most important attribute of a person who's going to be your treasurer? Honesty. Choose someone that is trustworthy. You're going to know that more than than we will, because we don't know the people in your community. We don't know all the people that you have to choose from. But you want someone who's thrifty, someone and using that term to mean industrious, someone who's frugal with their time and all their resources. The rest of the stuff, keeping the good records, that's important. But we could teach that. That's a skill. People can learn that. It's really hard to teach someone to be honest. It's really difficult if you're not an honest person to train yourself to be honest. I mean, that's a long step for some folks. So the most important thing when you're looking at a treasurer is not, do they have these skills? It's what's their character like. Is this somebody that you're going to feel comfortable handing them money? Those are the things you need to think about. We just went through a big banking meltdown, and all those people had skills. Some of them had some really good skills in accounting and business management. Yeah, they knew how to take money, didn't they? And they didn't care whose money it was. Yeah. So it's not a skills issue; it's a character issue. When we look at the duties, just of a list, really, the one, be an active board member, that's a character issue. Are they going to show up? When they say they're going to be there, are they there? The rest of these are simple skills that we can help you with, like keeping full and accurate account of all income and expenses. That's a skill. We can help you with that. If you have an issue with that, we can help. If you want this person to be the treasurer because everybody trusts them more, but they need some help with a skill, we're here to help you with that. We can come in, do individual technical assistance, and help you with that. You're going to report the financial condition to the board periodically. What does that word mean, periodically? How often is that?
Quarterly. Could be anything they ask, whenever they ask.
Well, it's not so much whenever they ask, it's whenever they meet. When the board meets, you provide them with a financial report. If they meet quarterly, it turns out to be a quarterly report. If they meet monthly, it turns out to be a monthly report. If they meet every 2 weeks, it's a little tough to do one in between because you don't get the bank statement until the end of the month. But you'll have, especially if you're that active, you may have some expenses that need to go before the board. You may have some income that needs to be reported. So it really depends on how active and how much money flows through your organization. All right, come on and join us. Let's see, where are we at? Okay. By show of hands, can I see how many of you are brand new organizations? Do we have any brand new organizations? Yeah, you're not. I know you're not. Yeah. Most of you, already have your EIN number, your employer identification number. It's one of the first things you have to do. And that doesn't matter whether you're here in Oklahoma or anywhere else in the United States. That's the first thing you have to do. Really, the best thing to do is you go to the IRS site. There's a place where, you can, small businesses, your small business self-employment, your employer ID number. It's a fill in the blank. It takes, if you're really slow, it'll take 20 minutes. And it's free. And the thing I think is hilarious about that is you can only get one a day. If you log in with your ID, with your name as the person doing this, you can only get one a day. And I thought, that means there's some place where people are trying to crank these out. And they're probably charging people to come in and fill out this form for folks that they could do for free, and it'd take them, 10, 15 minutes. So watch that. It's something y'all can do. It's really not hard. The second thing you're going to need to do is get your Oklahoma Certificate of Incorporation. In Oklahoma, that's through the Secretary of State's office. Again, you go to the website, and it's a 20-minute form you fill out, and it's the fee is I think we've decided that the new fee is like $35. It used to be $25, but like everything else when dealing with the state of Oklahoma, it's gone up. So And then the last thing is to check your charitable organization registration. This happens occasionally, but very few of our organizations fall under that heading. But check it out to make sure. There's certain types of fundraising that fall in there. Normally, you're not involved in those, so you probably go there. You'll read probably a paragraph and decide it doesn't belong. That you're not one of those. You don't have to register, but check it out just to make sure. Make sure you cover the bases. So to become official as an organization with the feds and with the state, there's 2 forms to fill out, and that's it. Total, it'll take you anywhere, if you're really slow, it'll take 45 minutes to do both those things. Less than 30 is my guess on most people. It's not hard, it's real simple. Most of you have already done that. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about some prudent practices with money. The first one is when you're writing checks, probably the best way to make sure that everybody knows what's going on is to have 2 signatures on your check. Now, you can get them with the 2 lines. It's going to be an additional charge, and you're going to have to basically demand it of your bank if you want to do that. They're not going to tell you they can do it. And in fact, some of them will tell you they can't. The truth is they can.
We usually just sign this way.
Yeah, and you can do it, yeah.
They don't even have to have a line.
Yeah, you can do it one on top of each other, with a 1 line. But you're going to want 2 signatures on that. Why is that? Why do you want 2 signatures on this check?
Protect each other.
Protect each other, accountability, right. We just said trustworthiness is probably the most important thing you can do. So why are we doing these things to make sure no one's stealing money? Why is that?
Because a lot will do.
Huh?
There's a lot of thieves out there.
Well, they have, but we've just said we really trust our new treasurer here. I mean, she's a stand-up gal. We all know she is.
What if something happens to her?
What if something happens? This guy walks in the middle of something and doesn't know what's going on and says, hey, she's stealing money, I know it. If we've got 2 checks, 2 signatures on that check, we can go, well, it's, either, she's stealing money with this person too, or it ain't happening. You're protecting the people you care about. I mean, we care about our new treasurer. She's really nice. She's really trustworthy. And we don't want these outside rabble-rousers coming in here and causing problems for us, right? If we've got 2 signatures on each check, we know when that money goes out, what it went out for, and there's 2 people that stood there and watched it happen. Okay? Bank statements are reviewed. Where does your bank statement go? Say it.
Filed.
Your post office box, your organization's address, and it really ought to be a post office box. Really shouldn't be someone's home address. We do have a few organizations that send it to their treasurer's house. It's like, oh no, don't do that to your treasurer. You want who goes and gets that mail out of the post office box?
Somebody else. Secretary.
Yeah, the secretary is supposed to be in charge of correspondence. That's the correspondence. She ought to go, that person should go get it, check it, review it really quick. I mean, are there numbers on here, in this line here, where it says, where the checks are listed? Is there something here that's just way out of whack that the secretary needs to say, what happened? What's this about? Chances are that's not going to happen, but they looked. So the secretary's gone and got the bank statement out of the post office box, reviewed it quickly, there wasn't anything about it. How long should the secretary hang on to that before he gets to the treasurer?
That day, Suzanne.
As quickly as possible. Yeah, that day, as soon as he get it done, get that to him. Why does the treasurer need it that fast?
In case there's a mistake.
In case there's a mistake? What's the treasurer going to do with this information? Say,
Balance the checkbook.
they're going to balance the checkbook. That takes some time, doesn't it? And we're also going to prepare the monthly financial statement, or whenever the next time the board's going to meet, they're going to prepare that report. Well, that takes some time too. So you want to make sure that when that bank statement comes in, it immediately gets in somebody's hot hands. It's reviewed to see what, make sure that there's nothing that just jumps out as being weird, and then pass that on immediately to the treasurer so they can do their report. Okay? Cash. Ooh. Do you need cash on hand?
At events and stuff.
At events and stuff? Sure you do. We've talked about, we've talked about the bank statements and stuff. What's a really good reason to have a bank, use a bank for your money?
Keep track.
They leave, bank statements leave great trails, don't they? You know where what money went in, what money came out. Cash. Does it have a nice trail attached to it?
Anybody.
Cash is cash. It can walk around and do all kinds of things. We're gonna hit this really hard. But if you need a cash box. In that cash box, you need a receipt book. You need to, when someone takes cash out, write who it was and why they took cash. And normally it's to go buy something that you needed to get really quick. So when they buy that stuff, they're going to bring that receipt, and then they should match up. The change that came back and the receipt. You want to make sure that those things, that way you're leaving that trail. So when this rabble-rouser shows back up, because hey, he didn't get any traction last month, but they had this event, and I saw all that cash, and boy, there was a lot of it, wasn't there? And I'm sure they stuck it in their pocket, because that's the kind of people they are. Well, you could say, that's really interesting. Here's our cash receipts and what they were for, and they all balance. I wonder how they took money out of that then. We just deflated any problem anybody might have. Again, we're protecting the people we care about, our board members and especially our officers. And that's why we do those things. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if there was something else. We're going to hit cash boxes again. Because we hit those pretty hard here. But we need to make sure cash. It doesn't leave footprints, so you need to make sure you make your own. Okay. The fourth thing, budgets and balance sheets. In your workbook, somewhere around page 10, 11, 12, maybe even be 13. There's an example of a budget and balance. This one is much more complicated than any you will ever need to do. That's why you can't read it from here. It's all really complicated. The thing to think about, though, is you're going to have probably 3 columns in your budget and balance sheet. The first column on the left, this one over here, is going to be something along the lines of what was our yearly budget for this item? What was our budget for this month? What was our budget? Then the next one's going to be what we spent. Either this, year to date. I like year to date because that keeps me. Normally, some things are spent in 1 month and 1 month only, so you lose it if you only do a monthly budget. But look at that. This is the actuals, and over here is going to be the difference. You got what we plan to spend, what we did spend, what the difference is. What our income was, what we planned our income to be, what our income was, and any difference. It doesn't show up? Okay, I thought it was in there. I know there's a real simple one later as a report. But anyway, those are the things. It's real simple. It's just 3 columns. You want to have a plan on where you're going to go. You're going to watch where where you're going and what deviations you've made and what you have to do to get back to it. Any planning that you do, your mantra is going to be plan, do, review. You make the plan, you do the action, and review how it went. That's all this is. You've got a plan in this column on the left. You got your do in this column, and over here is the review and how good we did. We planned on making $100 in this fundraiser, and we made 500. What a great thing! Because that's the way it always goes, right? You never plan to make $100 and only make 40. That never happens, does it? That's all you're looking at here as a treasurer is what was the plan? How are we doing? What are we going to do about it? Real basic stuff. Okay, so why do we have a bank account? We talked about it just a minute ago. Why do you open a bank account?
You don't want to have money laying around.
You don't want to have the money laying around, that's for sure. Keep track. You've got somebody else keeping track, don't you? You got this bank, and boy howdy, they've got rules like, we do not want to be living with on keeping track of who's got money where and when. And so anything that goes through the bank has footprints, and we can follow it. What other reasons do we want to have a bank account? We place to put the checks. We're going to protect our resources. We're going to leave a trail. And what's the last one there on the board? You're going to have a system. The hardest thing about the treasurer's job is, especially in a new organization, is establishing an accounting system so that you get into this routine. We know the bank statement shows up in the mailbox on the 5th of the month. By the 6th of the month, we know the secretary has looked at that and transferred that to the treasurer. The treasurer's got, 4 or 5 days until our board meeting on the second Thursday of the month to get this done and have that report ready. So there's it's getting that system, that routine going is the hardest part. That's why all the meetings, if you look at our calendar, the first 2 weeks of the month are jam-packed with, everybody's going to be in that, first 2 weeks. By the 3rd or 4th week of the month, we're sitting at home going, wow, what do we do on a Tuesday night? We don't have board meetings to go to. And that's really why. Most of them are that way. You want to get that routine going. Because when you miss a board meeting 1 month, so now it's 2 months since you've been to a board meeting. That 3rd month comes around, is it 8 o'clock already? That meeting was supposed to start at 7. I guess I missed it. And all of a sudden you're out of that routine. So establishing a personal routine, helps you get there. It also helps your treasurer. The other great thing about having this system and a routine going is who's a treasurer in your organization, in an organization here tonight? All right, we got 2. Great. You're the treasurer of this organization, right? You're going to be that treasurer for the next 100 years, right? No. No? You're not? Well, my goodness, what kind of a strange person are you? You want to do something else?
I think our treasurer changed 3 times because of illness and...
Yeah, illness happens, deaths in the families, circumstances change. It can be quite time consuming, especially getting this system in place. And if you're not careful, you can burn yourself out. So, if we've got this system established, and you've got this great opportunity to move to Orlando, and sit in the sun all day, and so instead of sitting over books and going, oh geez, got to get these figures to add up. You're going to take it. Well, if you've got a system in place, you've got the person sitting right here next to you we can plug right in and never miss a beat, right? Because she's trustworthy. That's the only skill we really need is someone who's trustworthy, right? You know, the other things we can help her with. And if you've got a system in place, most of it's already done.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you got 2 people.
Yeah, most of it's done anyway. So, you know, the thing is, you're going to set up a system. You're becoming systems, you know, in business talk, you're becoming systems dependent, not person dependent. Well, you know, if you're the only one who knows what's going on and you do it whenever you want and wherever you get around to it, you leave, nobody knows what's going on. No one knows how to do anything. So now we're person dependent and that person's left us and we're sitting here going, now what do we do? We're systems dependent because you did such a great job. You established this routine, this system to keep the books and report things out. You decide you need to move on to bigger and greater things because you just won the lottery and with $100 million in the bank, you really don't need to be sitting here. Right?
Be nice.
You're gonna find a nice beach someplace, and your private island. We're gonna come visit you.
Glad we do that.
But now we can place someone into your spot because you did such a great job, and that's really why we do that. Hello, you're in the wrong spot. Okay, we're getting ready to do a little exercise. Let's see. Yeah, it's on page 12. I had to check real quick. We're going to choose a bank. And we're going to assume that we're going to write no more than 8 checks per month. Okay, is that pretty normal for y'all, for your organizations? 8's probably a lot, most of the time. Yeah, you got to have copies of your canceled checks and your deposit slips because you need that for your reports, right? And you've got $350 to deposit, and it looks like that may be the only money you have for the next 6 months. Okay? Well, on page 12, there are 3 banks to choose from. And I want you, using those assumptions, I want you to choose a bank. And for those of you at home, that's page 12, right? All right, yeah, it is page 12. And we'll give you about 3 minutes to do that with. Oop, I turned it back. Okay, time is up. And I will put this back on my pocket if I can. Takes two hands. Do this silly thing. There we go.
Down and put it on his butt.
No, I don't want him anywhere near my. Back. See what we have to put up with? No. Okay. All right. Well, let's look at our banks. You finished early, and you're messing with me, so I get to mess with you. Okay. You chose a bank. Which one did you choose?
XYZ.
You chose XYZ. See, you should have chosen MDP up here, because that's my bank, MDP, Mark D. Parman.
Oh,
I know it's different there, but I can change it on the slide, so. Okay, you chose XYZ. Why did you choose XYZ?
well, because I only had 8 checks I could write. Well, we were looking at writing 8 checks. So
Okay.
I figured 10's good enough. You know, that's good.
Okay, so 10, you can do 10 checks
Yeah.
before an extra fee, and you're only doing 8, so that met that requirement. Okay?
And then the waiving, I only had 350, so they would have taken all my money. They wouldn't have gone to any money. Or so I'm going to give them $100 minimum balance.
Okay.
Okay.
So in XYZ, you could meet the minimum balance with no problem.
Right?
With ABC, it was a big problem, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle one,
Oh, I didn't even have enough money to cover it.
yeah, see, I was going to take all your money, wasn't I?
You bet.
All right. Hey, that's just the kind of guy I are.
I understand. And then
Okay, what else?
all of them did cancel checks and deposit slips, so process elimination.
Okay, so that, except one of them was going to charge you $5 for that.
Yeah.
And so you chose the one that was, one of the two that was
Least amount.
free, and then the one that had the, okay.
The least amount.
So, okay, any other reasons you did that?
No, that was it.
Okay, you didn't even get to the bottom, so you, hey, it was big time. All right, we got back here.
I liked it on the bounce check, it was the least amount, if it was your own organization, but bounce check from other person was 0.
Okay, the bounce check department, was a seller point back here. If you bounced the check, it was the least amount, and if you took a check that bounced, it cost you zip, right? Okay. Another really good reason to choose that bank. Is this pretty realistic?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, it used to be. About when we put this together 4 years ago, those were fees, but now they're different. But the process you're going to go through when you choose a bank is pretty much the same, right?
Right.
You're going to look at all those fees. Are they going to pay any interest at all? Are you going to have enough to even get some? Most of our organizations, you're only looking at maybe, at most 6 months of the year where you might have enough to actually, get to their minimum for interest payment. So, look at those things, go through that process. That's the thing we really want you to do. The numbers, the numbers change a lot. Yeah, they change, all the time. So, but the process that you're going to go through, gather up information from all 3 banks. You're lucky if I know in our part of the world, you're lucky if you got 3 banks to choose from.
I was going to say, it's always good to have at least 3 banks to choose from to do a comparison, because
Yeah, it's great. It's
anything.
yeah. You want to try to get 3 things when you're doing bids on a purchase. You want to look at 3.
Right.
You look at the bank the same way. In our community, we feel lucky that we got a bank. So.
Yeah, 3, and there's hardly anybody living in it.
Yeah, so, the convenience. I mean, one of the things we haven't, that isn't on that list is convenience.
And so on.
Yeah, a lot of them nowadays can do stuff online. But if you've got you've had a fundraiser on a Saturday night, what are you going to do with that money?
gonna have to hold on to it.
you know,
A bank drop?
a night bank.
Sure, I would do that, though.
I would only do that, I would love to be able to do that, and I'd try my hardest to be able to do a night drop, but you want to make sure you've talked to the bank beforehand so that they know what you're doing, and they can expect it. Why don't you want to take that money home with you? What's that?
Someone could easily get their hands on it.
Someone might, yeah, the house could burn down. I mean, we did that. We had a big, an organization I belonged to, we had a big fundraiser. We raised a bunch of money on and it was a Friday night. Well, the bank at that time wasn't open on Saturday, so the next time the bank opened was Monday. And we raised a bunch of money on that Friday night. I didn't sleep for 2 nights because I was afraid the house was going to burn down. That'd have been terrible.
You sleep with it under your pillow?
Well, no, we put it in a mayonnaise jar out in the backyard.
Well, then that's not a problem.
That way the house wouldn't burn down, yeah. No.
Place for your money anyway.
Yeah, really. Some days it feels like the mayonnaise jar in the back is best, but but it's gotten bad since they went to plastics. I mean, when you had real glass jars, you could, with lids, you could save your money that way. But boy, howdy. But think about convenience. We're looking at, can we get rid of this cash quickly, easily? If you've got sometimes you don't, there's some communities where they're in the bank and there's a, 30-mile drive to get to the bank. I lived in a community where it was 45 miles to the bank. It was 45 miles to the hospital, and it was 45 miles to the grocery store. No, we lived in the county seat. We did. It was big town. There were 700 people lived in the county seat. There were 1,500 in the whole county. Prairie County, Montana. Yeah, we lived in Terry, and the hospital was in Miles City, which was 45 miles down the interstate. So there were folks in the county that had to drive 45 miles just to get to the county seat, to get on the interstate, to get to the hospital. So, yeah, it was real interesting. That was a fun town. But convenience, how does that weigh into your calculation when you look at these numbers? If this bank here, if XYZ was going to give you the best deal, but they're 75 miles away, maybe that isn't such a great thing. Your time, your gas, all those things have to play into it. So think about those things as you're doing that. Okay, where are we going next? Okay, what's it take to open a bank account? Yeah, money. We had $350. Hey. And luckily we could in one of those banks. But, you're going to need your EIN number. Again, if all of y'all are relatively established, but if you're starting a new group, the very first thing you got to do is get an EIN number. Yeah, that one's not in there. But it will be if you go download everything off the website. So, yeah, you can have all that. The EIN number, you'll need that. You'll need a copy of your certificate of incorporation. They'll want to see that to make sure that the feds and the state recognize you as an entity. You're going to want that. Minutes of a board meeting. Why do they want that?
For the signers, to see who's on the signers on their account.
Well, that's this card down here, the signature card.
But you have to have a board approved for that.
But you have to have a board approve that, don't you? Yeah. The first thing they're going to want to know is, do you have the authority from the board to open this account? It has to be in those minutes. They want to know who's going to have authority to sign on this account. Has to be in those minutes. So as soon as you have those minutes written up, get them signed by the secretary, make sure they're passed by the board, get this done so you can get it to the bank. You're going to need some cash and then the signature card. You may need to go by the bank and get that prior to opening the account so that at this board meeting you can get those signatures.
Sometimes they will not let you take it.
And some banks, depending on their own rules, they want to see that person in the bank signing this. You know, so
Which is a good thing.
yeah, it's not a bad thing. That's certainly not a bad thing. So you want to make sure that you've had a conversation with the person that opens new accounts to see whether you can take that with you and get it done, or if they want to see somebody's bright, shiny face. Yeah, you know, so, and that will depend on bank policy, on, you know, the person who's in charge of new accounts, how well they know the folks in your community. You know, some will know everybody and will know their signature and won't care. The other thing to remember is if they don't know you, or even if they do know you, they may want, you know, that board member, they may want to run a credit check. So make sure your board members are aware that they may run a credit check on them.
That's a good thing.
You know, again, not a bad thing. No, you're right. That's not a bad thing. You know, we've had in the last 3 years, we've provided grants to about 60, 70 different organizations, and we've had one where they had a bank say, well, we really don't think this person ought to be on this account. They didn't pass their credit check. So, and it's up to the bank to make, you know, they get to make a lot of the decisions, and so they went back and got somebody different. You know, so it does happen occasionally, but the bottom line there, it ain't very often. So, you know, you're gonna choose people because you know people in your community that you trust, and more than likely they're going to be trusted by the bank. So, I wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about it, but know that it does happen. It's just one of those things that can happen. Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to take a break now because I need to get some water. And so we'll keep it to 10 because that's what our little counter says, and that way we can get back to the, I know, but as soon as I go here, it starts counting. So and that way we'll respect the folks at home, and we'll start right away when this comes back. Okay? All right, we'll see you all in 10. Yeah, it's like, it's real similar to that, and, you know, it's. Yeah, but it's top of the page. Yeah, the tree item is really what you need. And, yeah, when we have questions, I can always, Secretary of State's office. Yeah, and my guess is, you know, it will be much more than that now. Yeah, so I'm they want to know who's out there, who's still alive, you know, and that's. State.
And there are three questions on there, okay, that market didn't start right away, I'm not sure when. So there are three questions on here that are pertinent to this program. And so, let's get all three of them. All three of them are
There it goes.
Presentation for this. I'm trying to think of it.
How are ya? It's good to see you. Doing good? Doing good. I know, now that I know it's all online.
That's another, oh, it's Kim again, so, yeah.
Oh,
Just one?
Okay. You guys can't sit over here. You have to sit over here.
30 seconds.
Have a half a minute left.
Half a bubble. Half a bubble.
You're supposed to do that in the back row.
Oh, we're not in the back row, are we?
It's not a robot baby, Yes.
And according to our clock, our time has run out.
Is your mic back on?
I believe so.
You just blew so many speakers out of the house.
Yeah. Okay. You won't let him sit through the class?
He doesn't want, he does whatever he wants to. He doesn't want to.
A brave man. I salute him. Okay, before we get started, as you know, Tammy Miller is normally the person who does the checks and balances workshop. She's not with us this evening because today is her birthday.
Mine too.
It's also her husband's birthday.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so there's three of you. Okay, yeah. Now, what I'd like, because I know she's at home because she said she would be watching us at home. We're going to sing for her because they're having wild eggs and onions tonight for dinner, and I'd much rather be at her house. So we're going to turn around and sing to the camera, "Happy Birthday" to Tammy. Oh yes, a one and a two. A happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tammy. Happy birthday to you. Okay.
You want me to get the phone call?
Oh yeah. Now the worst part is now that's going to be archived, and people will be watching this. So anyway, they all know I'm nuts, so that's okay. All right, where are we at here? Bookkeeping basics.
You said wild eggs and onions. I never heard of wild eggs.
Wild eggs and onions?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wild
man.
eggs, I've heard of wild onions.
It's
And
like green eggs.
Well, no, that's wild eggs and onions. That always was at our house anyway.
Don't ask me about boneless chickens.
Yeah.
Gary, you know what he's talking about?
You had wild eggs and onions? Yeah, every year about this time. Yeah. Yeah, they won't let him sit any closer. I get to walk around so they can't push me aside. You know, they want to really bad. But we're going to talk about bookkeeping real quick the rest of this evening. Basically, it's a record of your transactions. That's all it is. You know, what came in, what came out. Now, you can get really fancy and have, you know, these words debits and credits. But basically, what you're saying is in and out. You know, that's what it is. So you can use the proper accounting terms if you're trying to impress somebody, you know, or you can write in and out at the top of your account. Yeah, out, yeah, yeah, right. You've seen my checkbook, huh?
Thanks for the happy birthday.
Oh, Tammy's thinking, yeah, we knew she'd be watching, so. You keep a running balance. As things go out, you subtract it. I mean, it's called a running balance, but basically it's what's going out and how fast is it leaving us. You know, that's all that is. And identify clearly what's going on. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to identify clearly your transactions?
You got in your account,
What's that?
so you know how much you got in your account.
So you know how much? But why do you want to identify clearly the transaction, the total transaction? Yeah, you need to know how much it was, so you know how much left you or how much came in. So you got a good record?
Report.
So it's part of your report. Where did the money go? Where did it come from? Those are the things, you know, it came in, but how did it get here? You know? Yeah, was it a grant? Was it, someone from, Germany saw you online and decided to send you, $8,000 after the euro was translated? You need to know, just as when you write a check, what was it for? Well, we had to pay, $600 to keep the lights on the place.
Keep track.
Yeah, yeah, buy some propane. Whoa, yeah. That's the other fun thing is you get to buy propane. Yeah, we did that too. Ooh, it hurt. Buying propane's been a lot of fun. So you want to track those things very clearly. So what we're going to do is practice that skill. On page 16 of your workbooks, all the information here is on there. Your first meeting, you raised almost $300. Your treasurer had to buy a post office box, and he had some postage that he had to buy, all those kind of fun things. So all that information's there. He had to send 25 to the Secretary of State's office for your registration. So really what we want you to do is take that chart that you've got at the bottom of page 16 and work on filling that out, and then we'll talk about it, okay? Okay. We got about 10 minutes to do that with, and it's running. Hello? Oh, there I am. Okay, I can talk now. Okay, we got those filled out, right? Okay, let's see some heads doing this number. Okay, all righty. Someone tell us what the first thing they put right here. Who wants to tell us? Okay, you put the donation there, right? Okay, what, did you just write donation?
No, I wrote donation, put over there where the amount.
Okay, you put donation here, and then over here you wrote the amount. Okay, and that amount was? $297, and so that number went there as well, correct? Okay.
But we put in there including 18 and 24, so it adds up.
Okay, so you included 18 and 24. 18 and 24 what?
Dollars.
From
But they were checks that came in.
checks,
for the
okay.
organization.
Okay, so you separated those in the description?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you,
Actually, I put mine in the credit.
okay, so you put the
I
18,
put the credits in there, and then I put 255, and then I've had a balance.
okay, so you broke it out
I broke it
in
out.
this, okay,
Yes.
for that, okay. Okay, those are two good ways to do that. You know, I won't tell you either one's right or wrong, they're just two good ways. What was the second thing, the thing you listed under description? What was the second thing somebody put in there?
Business cards, printing a business card.
Printing
Checks.
some checks or business cards or?
Business checks.
Business checks, okay. Those were coming out, the bank was going to charge you for those, right? And so this was checks, and how much was that? How much? $40. So that went over here in the credits? Into the debits, okay. So what happened in this column?
$257 balance.
Okay, so you divided that. You subtracted the 40 from the, and you ended up with 257, right? Okay. What else did we do down here?
Got a post office box.
Post office box, okay. How much was that? 50 bucks, and that went to the post office.
Yes, went to the post office.
Okay, that money went to the post office, so we did that, okay. And that number went here
Yes,
and subtracted down to here.
07.
Okay. Did we fill up this box?
Yep.
And what would we put in there?
Oklahoma certification.
Okay, certificate of incorporation, or, yeah, okay. Secretary of State,
And mailing fee.
and the mailing fees.
Put it together
You lumped those together. Okay, why did you lump those together?
because they went actually together.
Okay,
You have to mail in that form.
okay.
But it went to bill. The check was written to bill.
The check was written to bill. Why was the check written to bill?
Reimburse bill for the,
To reimburse bill. So you want to make sure that in this column, when you're describing it,
Say a reimbursement.
that you're saying you're reimbursing bill. Why is that important?
the check didn't go to the Oklahoma certificate of incorporation, it went to bill.
With the bill. So when our good friend over here storms into the meeting and says, well, Bill's just raking in all this money, you've got a track here. You got tracks that say, yes, we paid Bill because this had come out of his pocket, and the proper thing to do was to reimburse him. And you've called it just that. It's a reimbursement for his expenses, right? Okay. So really, what you're looking at is something that looks similar to this in some way, right?
Well, the check thing didn't work out.
Yeah, okay.
How
What?
did Bill get the money out of the bank? Did he just go in there and get it for the post office box?
I have no idea.
Oh, what? That sounds like.
Yeah, our thing really doesn't, so I made up a check number, and Bill wrote a check. Yeah. Yeah, we made up a check number, and Bill wrote the check to the post office.
Yeah, we have no
Paid the
dates.
bill, and then they reimbursed.
It could have been a reimbursement. Yeah, it could have happened that way as well. The instructions aren't real clear about that, are
Right,
they?
I thought about that.
Yeah.
There's no dates either.
Yeah, there's no dates in that scenario, so I made up some dates, and made up some check numbers and all kinds of fun stuff.
I saw the application at the board meeting video, already had opened the checking account.
Yeah, I don't know how he managed that. Yeah, how did he manage that? Because we already said that you can't open a checking account without minutes from the meeting telling you to do that. So I don't know what bank he's using, but I want to make my money out of that bank. Yeah, they're not, they're maybe a little on the shady side. So, but anyway, you're looking at something here,
But our totals matched.
which is,
Everything.
yeah, I'm typically a lumper. I like to lump things together, so I have to do as little math as possible. So, I knew that our deposit was going to be $297, so instead of breaking it out over here in the credits, I put those checks over here, and I even made up some names for who wrote those checks. Why would I want those names?
The reason, so I work at Tahlequah Public Schools, and now when we make deposits with fundraisers, they have a place that you list the check number, the person's name, and the date, because people weren't getting their checks cashed, or checks were getting lost, and now you can identify.
Okay, at Tahlequah Public Schools, right? You write down the check number, the date, and who it is, so it can be tracked in case that check, for some reason, doesn't get cashed. You can go and follow it.
Yes, or
Okay.
someone says they made a donation.
Oh, yeah, as a donation or something. So another really good reason to make sure that you've got that. The other thing is, yes, sir.
I was gonna say, would you tell us why you use parentheses?
Okay, why we use these parentheses here? Because it's a minus, and it's a good way to keep track of that. Yeah,
That's a minus.
yeah,
That's out.
yeah. This column is out. It says debit, it's out. Yeah, so you're going to subtract it. It's just a way of showing that. It made our OCD boss really happy when we did that, so we did it that way. So,
Understand that.
yeah, but the key there, though, is what's going to make sense to you and your board. Is a minus sign going to be okay? Do you need brackets? Do you need anything? Because after all, that is the out column. We know if it's in that column, we're going to subtract it. So whatever works, make it easy for y'all, okay? I mean, bottom line here is you don't want this to be any harder than it has to be.
Yeah, I come up with a different figure on the donations, because it says 297 donations, but it don't say total donations. So I took it that cash plus checks.
And that was,
Because it wasn't descriptive.
yeah, what we're saying here is that, there's two checks, and then there's this donation thing. Are they separate or are they the same? I made them the same because it also, the first thing it says there is included are two checks.
Yeah,
so I said, well, okay, that probably means that it's that whole big number, and this is part of that. It may not be.
And I took it as being 297
Plus.
cash plus checks.
Yeah, and that could be the real, but the key is,
Money and make sure.
yeah, the thing is count your money. Yeah, right. Make sure you count your money, and make sure what it is. Is it or is it ain't? And if it is included, then break it out. If it's not, then separate it somehow. You're going to want to know where the money. Why is it another thing? We talked about this fundraiser, and we got these two checks, and there's a whole bunch more cash there. Why is it important to know where those checks came from?
In our organization, we use that to say thank you.
To say thank you. You're going to know what their address is because it's on that check, and you can send them a note that says thank you very much. Is that important to folks? Yes. You better believe it. Say thank you early and often. Make sure your secretary has a stack of thank you cards, and anytime a donation of any size comes in, you've already got where it came from. That next meeting, pass one of those cards around, have all the board members sign it saying thank you so much. If it was for something specific, say, well, we were able to do this, and this with your funds. We so appreciate it. Say thank you. It's so nice. I was on the other end of that this week. I got a thank you card. there's a group of, I guess they're all young ladies, high school kids, are going to go backpacking in New Mexico this summer in June. And I was able to supply them with some funds to do that. And I felt good about it. And so I thought, okay, well, then this weekend, Saturday, I get this really nice card with a picture of all the gals on a camp out. They're all, out with their backpacks. And, with a really nice, beautiful thank you card. I felt so good. It's like, geez, how do I, find some more of that money so I can help these kids some more? And that was my first reaction is, how do I help these people? Because they said thank you. You say thank you all the time, and you get repeat thunders, don't you?
We have people saying that's the first time they've ever been thanked for anything.
Yeah, she's saying that's the first time that people, some people will say it's the first time anybody's thanked me. That's a huge thing. You cannot thank a donor enough. In as many ways as possible, you want to thank them. And we'll get around to another way to do that here in another slide or two.
Might also get a mailing list started.
You get you a nice mailing list for funders. Hey, we have one of our lovely ice storms, and it comes in and not only takes out the co-op power line, it rips your box off the side of the building. So now you're responsible for getting that fixed before the co-op comes and hooks you back up. You got that money in your budget? Probably not. But you've got this list now, right? And you can send out an urgent request. We've had this tragedy happen in our community, and we need, how much ever it is to get somebody in here, that's licensed to put this thing back together so we can, get the electricity hooked back up and get rolling to help other people. It's a great letter. Who do you send it to if you don't have, this list of donors? And you said thank you last time they gave you money. Does that increase the likelihood they're going to give you money this time? It's going to increase, whether or not they can is another question, but the likelihood that they will has just risen because you said thank you. How long did it take you to say thank you at that board meeting? How much time did that take? 30 seconds? Yeah, find the name, write it, address on a card. It took, what's a thank you card cost these days? 75 cents or less?
Dollar store, 50 cents.
Yeah, dollar store, you can get a bunch for 50 cents, yeah. So for less than $1, including the postage, you've said thank you. And when something happens when you need funding quickly, you've got people to thank. So, by making the ledger, doing a simple ledger where you've got these people's names, you've also got, started this list of addresses with it, you've got places to go. Now, do you have to have a computer program to do this ledger? No. You have to have the original Oklahoma laptop computer. You guys know what that, you remember what that was, don't you? When you went to grade school? It was a Laddie pencil and one of those big chief tablets, that was the original laptop because you had to push that pencil on your shoulder to write with that thing. It was so huge. It was like half a tree trunk and with some lead in it, and you'd carry that thing around and that tablet had knot holes in that paper. It was so thick. I don't know where they got those things, but man, that was nasty paper, and those pencils were huge. But that was the original laptop. As you did, you learned to write on those things. You learned to add and subtract, and that's all we're doing here. That's simple. All it is. It's okay. Treasurer's report. I think. Was it about page, what's it, 16? 17. There's a real simple treasurer's report there. This one's a lot fancier. The one problem I have with the one in your book is it simply says income received, expenditures paid. Okay. It's a very accurate statement. The numbers are extremely accurate. How useful is that to you as a board member? Not very, is it? You don't know, where'd the money come from? Where did it go?
And what got paid?
You know, you don't know those things. You know, it's like the old story about the guy comes into the train station and asks the guy behind the ticket counter, when does the 2 o'clock train arrive? And he says, well, sometime between noon and 6 o'clock. Extremely accurate. Extremely accurate. How useful is that information? I mean, you know, it's not useful, is it? I mean, yeah, that 2 o'clock train will probably be in there between noon and 6, and you can probably bank on that. But that's not useful information. You want useful information. What we did here is we've got revenues. We got, money received. Call it whatever you want. It's in. This is the in stuff. We've got a grant where we got $310. We got a refund for $3. We had a fundraiser and brought in $50. That's what happened that month. Real simple. You know where the money came from. You know how how it showed up on your doorstep and why. When Gary comes in and starts raising Cain about your pocketing money, well, you can say, well, this is all we brought in, guy, and it's in our bank statement right here. Again, anybody trying to cause problems for your treasurer, you've deflated that situation immediately. Your costs, whatever those are, supplies, rent, whatever. You want to make sure that you itemize those, break those out as much as you can, or as much as is useful. Here, there's salaries. Well, you're not going to have salaries, but let's say you've got 3 employees. Do you need each one of those employees' individual salaries reported? You don't need that. People don't need to know what the cook's making, or the janitor, or the secretary, or whatever. But they do need to know that you are paying salaries, and this was the lump sum. That's the important thing, because you want to make sure that everybody knows where the money goes, not necessarily who got how much. Is it a reimbursement? We reimbursed Bill, right? Now, is that different, or is that the same than salaries? It's different, isn't it? Yeah. You're going to want to make sure that anybody who might have an issue with Bill knows that you wrote him a check for that amount, but this is exactly why. And you put that in your report. You want that to be out there. And if that would be, to me, that reimbursement would fall in down here under any unusual items. That should be an unusual item when you're writing a check to a board member, because under the IRS rules for 501c organizations, as a board member, you're not supposed to be profiting from your position. So, Bill had these expenses. He also had these receipts saying, this is the money I spent on your behalf. Can I please have reimbursement? Sure enough, you've got the receipts. We can track this, no problem. You want to be able to do that. And it protects Bill, protects you, protects everybody. Okay. Any other questions before we move on about your monthly report? Who gets these reports, the monthly report? The secretary gets one?
And everybody, all the board members?
Everybody on the board gets one. Gary's not on the board, but he came to the meeting tonight. Does he get one?
If he wants one.
If he wants one, you give it to him. Does he have to ask, or do you ask him if he wants one? I'd probably go over there and say, would you like one? Because it makes it look like everything is above board. I mean, and that's the whole issue here, is how do you protect your treasurer and your board members? Gary came in the last month and was trying to raise Cain about, our cash box. Well,
It's always a troublemaker.
yeah, he keeps, and let me say one thing here, because this is, we had a person in an organization who did just that. Every month, that person would come in with some other issue that people weren't doing right. And sometimes she was right. What did that do to the board? It made them better, didn't it? Yeah. I mean, they didn't really like that person, did they? But it made them a stronger board because they understood the rules better and how to conduct their business in a proper manner. So, you know, when those people show up, welcome them because they're going to make you stronger. They're going to ask questions. And they're great. You need those folks. You really do. You may not like it at the time. And that's okay. But they're really helping you because they're helping you get stronger as a board. They're bringing up things that you haven't thought about. The old story that we tell when we're doing our board responsibilities course, there's 5 of you on the board. 3 of you happen to be at the basketball game at the concession stand at the same time. Guess what? It's a meeting. And it's an illegal meeting because it was not posted under the Oklahoma Opens Meetings Act. Get your drink and get back to the stands. Don't be standing there talking to each other. I don't care what you're talking about. Someone will see you and think that, oh, hey, they were there discussing board business. So, until that happens, you're not going to think about it. But someone will come in and say, well, we saw you doing that. And it's like, well, we were there. We were together, all in the same place at the same time. So you scatter. Get your peanuts and get gone, whatever it is. But you have to think about those things. So these people are great, and welcome them. Make sure they get copies of anything they want. In Oklahoma, if you have a website, they want you're required to have your articles of incorporation or your bylaws or whatever you're calling them. They have to be posted on your website. It'd be a really great thing to also post the minutes from your last meeting. We had a guy in this morning's class. They actually have a file cabinet where they have filed the minutes for every meeting they've ever had and can grab them and hand them to anybody who wants a copy. Because under the Oklahoma Open Records Act, you have to be able to do that. Whether you file it in your computer or in a physical file, it's up to you all how you do that. But you need to be able to respond. So think about those things. Okay, petty cash box. How much do you need in your petty cash box? Depends on what you're doing, doesn't it? Yeah. Sometimes, normal month where you're not having too many events, $50 is probably, plenty.
Wait, things are right now, $100.
Yeah, but you're doing stuff. You've got this event coming up. We're going to be, making change at the door. You may need $300 in that thing. You don't know. It changes. But fixed amount. Always have the receipt book showing where money went in, when it's gone out. You want to make sure you got that record, okay? And have a person, not necessarily the treasurer, it doesn't have to be the treasurer at all, but a person who is responsible at that event for that cash box. Now, the other thing to remember is when you have that event, you want 2 people to count that money out. We get over here, we've got, we're having a community dance. And, we've already said, cash doesn't leave footprints. So it can wander away. You got 2 people there, they're watching it, it's less likely to happen. And it's less likely for someone to say, well, man, they made a bunch of money at that dance the other night. How come they didn't deposit it? Well, I saw them stuff it in their pockets. That's what they did. Well, if there's 2 people there counting it out and it all equals the amount that you'd put in the bank the next day or the next time it was open, that gets deflated immediately. You're trying to protect your people. And that's, this whole class is about helping you protect your folks. yeah, make that deposit as quickly as you possibly can. I know I hate having money that belongs to somebody else in my house. I just, it makes me nervous. Few things make me nervous, but that's one of them.
If you lose it, you lose double.
Yeah, yeah, because for me, I have to replace it. I don't care what the board may say later.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't your fault that the house burned down. Well, but I had it with me. So I have to replace that. That's just, yeah. You trusted me to watch over that money, and something happened bad, and yeah, it wasn't my fault, but I've got to replace it just because I have to. That's just me. And keep this as simple as you possibly can. You really, let me ask you this question. We're talking about having two people with the cash. We've already said earlier that the most important trait of a treasurer is what? Being, trustworthy, honest person. So why do we need two people there? Yeah, you're not tempting someone. You're protecting them. I was in an organization a long time ago where we had, the two-person signing checks, we had all this stuff. But we had one person, making the deposit, counting the money and making the deposits. So it always balanced. And it took almost 6 months for us to figure out that, wait a second, we know how many people showed up. We know what the charge was to come in. How come this deposit isn't that big? And no one was watching, and someone was in a personal situation where they, crumbled. And we did not protect them from themselves by having someone else there. Really, we didn't help them. And that's really, again, you're just trying to help people, you're trying to protect folks.
And we read that in the paper every day.
Yeah, you read it in the paper every day. Until we get unemployment down to, 2-3%, people are going to be in that, under those kinds of pressures, and there will be people who stumble. We're all human beings and we all make mistakes. Lord knows I have. You try to minimize them, but hey, the way you can do that is to make sure you got two people there to look after each other. Okay. You've had a fundraiser. I'm not sure this is in your book at all, but is it? Okay. Okay. You've had a fundraiser. You're going to put out a report on this fundraiser that just covers this fundraiser. Okay? Basically because you need to answer this first question. How well did it do? How much money did you make? Is it worth the time and effort to make that amount of money? If you don't have this kind of data, you don't have answers to that. You have opinions, but you don't have answers. We look here, we sold some tickets. One of the things that you'll see right away is we don't know how many people attended this fundraiser, this dance. We have ticket sales, and we could then, if we knew how much the ticket was, we could infer how many people were there, but we don't have an exact number. So in any event you do, have somebody there with a cow counter and count people as they come through, or have them sign in or whatever, get a good count of folks. We made you all sign in, right? There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them happens to be to pay for the cookies and drinks. We have to tell our accounting people how many people were here. Yeah. The other is to get.
People at home, we got cookies.
Yeah, we had nice cookies, but we also, the other thing is, this way you get credit for your organization for the technical assistance training you received tonight. That's why it's important to you and to us. But the other side is that there's somebody else that wants to know, well, how come you spent this money? In this way we can show them. Refreshment sales was $100, so we made $775, right? Sounds good. We know how much money we made. What did we spend? Well, there's hall rental. For some reason, we had to pay for our community building, so there's $300. We had a band. It was a really good band, and they donated $800 of their normal $1,000 fee, so it only cost us $800 or $200 to get this $1,000 band. So that was a really good thing. Great band, low price. We had some decorations, some advertising. We paid somebody $125 to sweep up after, and it cost us $815. So how much money did we make in our fundraiser?
Nothing. You're in the hole.
We're in the hole. Whoa, wait a second. This was a fundraiser. And we lost $40, huh?
Well, we're not having this fundraiser again.
Well,
Well, maybe a cheaper thing like the custodial thing. We can do that ourselves, say to, yeah.
yeah,
We need a band.
you know,
There's local people that can come in and play.
you know, there's a couple ways you might be able to do that. You know, we can squeeze, you know, these numbers really hard, and maybe get that, you know, find ways to make that cheaper. The other thing is we may want to spend more money here in advertising. How did we advertise? Did we get the word out?
Yeah.
If we had the list of people who came, we might know that, hey, we had 75% of the people in the community at the thing. So that's probably as good as we're ever going to get. You know? Or we might know that we only had 10% of the community show up.
Send out a survey and ask them how they found out about it.
Exactly. Ask. We're going to ask them. You know? If we have that list, we'll know. So, you know, there's things we can do, ways we can do that. Now, was this event a failure or was it a success?
I'd say it was a success.
It depends on how good a time you had. Yeah, really. You know, as a fundraiser, it probably wasn't a great thing. As a community event, community outreach, getting your name out there in the community.
That was only $40 in the hole. It could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. And if you had, you know, 50% penetration of your community, that's a great thing. You know, with a report like this, though, you can ask those questions and you can get answers. There's a little sign on my door that says, without data, you're just a person with an opinion. Well, if you do this report, you got data. So now you've got answers. You don't have opinions. You can answer questions. You know, you're not just, you know, well, we think this happened. There was about that. Well, no, we had 348 people there, which is, you know, 33% of our community. That's a great thing. You know, you can make those kinds of statements. So as an outreach, this may have been extremely successful.
I think people would have bought more refreshments than $100.
Yeah, probably. If we had popcorn, I know they would have. You know, because especially if they're dancing, they're eating popcorn, that's salt, they're going to want something to drink. You know, so, you know, hey.
Do like they do stock, put out salt like so.
Yeah, really, yeah. Exactly. I mean, why do you think they do that at the bar? You know, they got peanuts and popcorn. They're going to give it to you because you're going to buy, you know, drinks. That's why they do that. Okay, we're getting down here to the end. Treasurer's annual report. When do you do that? Annually. Ooh, that was a tough question, wasn't it? Yeah. You've done a report every month for the last 12 months. Where's this annual report come from?
From the accumulation of the 12 months.
Squinch them together. You just squinch them together. Now, each month we've had a list of people who have given us donations. Now we've got 12 of these lists. What are we going to do with that list in this annual report? Yeah, we're going to use it, yeah. We're going to say thank you again. We're going to make a list, probably alphabetical, saying, you know, thank you. You know, we want to thank these people for their donations this past year that have really helped us provide these programs. You know, you're going to say thank you again. And you're going to send them a copy of that report. You know, you want to make sure that, you know, that they know how great they are because they gave you money. You know, and you never know when that $50 donation that you were so happy to get can turn into $5,000, $15,000, $25,000. You don't know. You know, it happens. We know it happens. Lightning does strike somewhere, and it might strike you. But you got to be raising your arm up going, thank you, and get that arm up there so the lightning can hit you. You know, you've got to get it out there. You're going to do a balance sheet. You know, basically what'd you start with? What was the, you know, what did you bring in, what went out, and where you at the end? You know, the ins, the outs, and the done. You're the treasurer. Do you need a fancy computer program to do these things? No. Can you use a fancy computer to do these things? Sure.
You know how it works?
Yeah, most of them, you know, there are some that, I mean, you can put this stuff in and you push a button and it kicks out all these reports, which is really nice and really simple. They also have all these other bells and whistles that you really don't need. You know, this can be done with that, you know, a pad of paper and your pencil. You know, it doesn't require a lot of stuff. You know, it's real simple to do. Okay. So, normally at this time, I give you your evaluation, don't I? Did you notice that you didn't pick one up?
Yeah.
Ooh.
You're slipping.
Is he slipping, or is he being devilishly mean to you? Okay. I want you to do 3 things. I want you to sit here and think, which is going to be really hard this time of night. But what tool, what idea did you pick up tonight that you're going to implement in the next 30 days? Write it down in your workbook there. What's the first step you're going to take in these 30 days to implement that idea? And then what's your commitment to do that? Now, I've asked you to do 3 things. Now you've all signed in over here, right? You left some kind of contact information there, right? A phone number, an email, or something. Don't shake your head no. We know how to get a hold of you. My promise to you, my commitment to you, is at the end of this 30 days, I'm going to call you, email you, contact you, ask you, how's it going? What was it that you said you'd do in these 30 days? Have you been able to do it? What hurdles did you hit that kept you from it? What things were so smooth that you did it in the first 10 days? How did it go? We're going to have that conversation. That's coming up. We'll get it to you. Don't worry. We'll get that and the phone number and my email address here. So you'll have all that. But you know, do those things. And I will give you a call, yeah.
First one, in the next 30 days, have you use one of the skills? Are you talking about from what we've learned from the first module to the third, or just this one?
Tonight.
Just this
Just tonight. Let's work on tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Because some of those are 90 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's work on tonight. Okay? Okay. And then truth and presentation design. I added some references here so you'd think that all this was well researched. I will draw your attention to this one. It's difficult to read. It's Terwilliger and et al. From 2009, Monkeys and Their Poo. We have from Ballard's 2011, No, It's Not a Curse Word. So those are some of the research items that we did to put this together. Mostly this guy's nuts, so hey, yeah. And they actually let me get in front of people too. That's what's really weird. But you ask about name, phone number. Right there it is. I am, again, what's left of Mark Parman. You can reach me at mark-parman@cherokee.org or 207-4973. and I love it when you call because my phone rarely rings. And when it does, but when it does, it plays Oklahoma State's fight song, and I get to listen to it all over again. So call me anytime, often. Yeah. Yes, they get on to me when I call myself and just play the tune over and over again. Yeah. Again, the Cherokee.org/CCO. This will be available to you to watch again because we had so much fun tonight that you want to relive it. You're gluttons for punishment. Or you want to share it with somebody else. You can also get information from us at our Facebook/CNCCO. Kevin's our Facebook guru, so he's in charge of all that fun stuff. On the second Tuesday of each month, so was it 3 weeks? 2 weeks from tonight. Yeah, 2 weeks from tonight, we will gather in this room again for a cultural presentation. The second Tuesday of each month, we'll have a cultural presentation. It will also be broadcast, so you can sit at home and watch that if you'd prefer, or watch it at your convenience. Next month will be about genealogy, so if you have questions about that, you may want to either plan on watching it live or at some time after.
How long do those usually last?
Yeah, they're about an hour. Okay, any questions before we say goodnight?
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie, yes. Thank you all for coming. Be careful going home.
Say,